We talked a little bit about Uro. There's also Rampaging Ferocidon in Barich's list.
Ooh, players can't gain life.
Yeah, so, you know, she has a lot of ways to actually check that, Courser of Krufix, etc.
Looks like Dilks is on the play. It's a Blooming Marsh. Barich has Mountain Swift Spear. Dilks has Fatal Push, though, so life points still 20 all.
Appreciation for that Kamigawa Arena Mountain.
That is nice. Turn 2 for Dilks, Forest, Satyr Wayfinder. Got to pick us some lands and Milden Uro.
Well, that's the formula.
Breeding Pool picked up. Now Barich's turn. You do see Ash Zealot at the front of the hand. That is the play. That's going to attack for 2. There's a little bit of a calculus with Wayfinder, and it's really just the question, when do I want to chump block? It's going to happen, right? That's the plan for the card.
Right, that is not an aggro card.
Not yet, though. Dilks goes to 18.
Right, this is possibly Dilks paying respect to something like Rampaging Ferocidon.
Sure. Breeding Pool tapped and a pass.
See, Dilks could get punished if Barich has a Chain Whirler.
And there it is. Castle Embreth, Chain Whirler. Goodbye Wayfinder, goodbye 1 life, and how about 2 more? So Dilks is at 17 and being attacked for 2. Has an Abrupt Decay? This is a tough question because a Chain Whirler is just bigger.
Right. I imagine you're going to want to end up tagging the Ash Zealot if Uro is your plan anyway. 2 and 3 are not actually different numbers when your number is 6.
Sure, makes a lot of sense, and he does go for the Zealot. Stays at 17. He's going to use a Fabled Passage to find an island. Hey, that's 4 mana. Hey, there's enough cards in the graveyard for Uro.
And Barich is really going to struggle to get out from under this at this point. Dilks is at 17, going back up to 20.
Really anybody's game at 20 all, right? Except 6-6 versus 3-3, Draw Engine versus First Strike. Some problems for Barich here.
Getting into those maths.
And Opulent Palace is going to be put on the battlefield by the Uro. And we'll see what Barich can do about it. At least 2 lands in hand. Those are really no good.
That being said, Chain Whirler and Burn Spells can combo pretty nicely. There is a Bone Crusher Giant hiding out there.
Barich is going to play a Mountain, cast a Monastery Swift Spear, and attack with just Swift Spear. Dilks says, sure, I will take 1. Barich says,
attack.
Indeed you will.
Oh, good. Ooh,
a lot of players don't
attack.
have the heart for that attack,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Right, we see Dilks fire off a Thoughtseize. Barich is going to respond with a Rimrock Knight, actually a Boulder Rush, to put that in the Adventure Zone. Ooh, and an Abrupt Decay in response, so make that the graveyard. There's going to be a Stomp upstairs, putting Dilks to 17 for now. And we see just Ramunap Runes left over, but I think Dilks is pretty fine with that.
Yeah, this is a 6-6 that gains 3 every turn versus a 1-2 and a 4-3.
Right, Uro's going to attack, so Dilks went down to 14, and he's shocking for this Overgrown Tomb. He's going to end up at actually 18 after this second Uro is cast.
Close game.
Yeah, really anybody's game at this point. Barich draws, and it's really just a matter of how long she wants to keep playing at this point. There's an attack for the Swift Spear. Rampaging Ferocidon.
Well, okay.
Stops the life gain. Fully 2 cards that were banned in Standard on the battlefield for Barich. Here's Tamiyo for Dilks. There's still that some removal spells in the graveyard.
Right, I would expect to see anything bought back to deal with this Ferocidon.
Abrupt Decay takes down the Dino. Uro attacks. Now it gains life. This is going to put Barich to 8. Dilks very comfortable at 21. Puts a Breeding Pool in tapped. Plays a Swamp. He's empty-handed. Who cares? It's all on the table. Actually make that life total 24. Swift Spear attacks Tamiyo. The castle could close. And instead, though, Tamiyo just takes 1, and here's a Ferocidon for Barich. No real reason to take care of the Tamiyo. That's kind of not what the game's about.
Right. It may just be the point where Dilks is at such a high life total that Barich is saying, all right, well, how do I stabilize? Probably try to, you know, hit the quantity of cards Dilks has access to.
Courser Krufix. It's going to find a Watery Grave off the top for Dilks. Uro's going to attack, draw Thoughtseize. That's some blank cardboard, but he really doesn't need it.
I guess it's only 6 damage to the dome.
Yeah. All right, Barich's that 2. Tamiyo's going to plus. Here's that synergy you mentioned before. I don't think he's going to name Iptu Rivulet, but it's a free roll if he wants to draw that card.
You cannot name a land,
Oh.
but
That explains why you wouldn't do that.
at this point, you're probably just clearing the top. Oh, did he hit?
Whoa.
Oh!
4th card down, Nisu Shakes the World. That was the name. And if it wasn't, if it was over before, it's really over now as Barich picks him up.
Yeah,
And
it was diet over before.
She was probably just staying in just to get some insights at some 1-ups anyway, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. These Delirium decks really haven't settled on a stock 75 yet. And Tamiyo in particular is one that deviates from what other people are doing.
All right, Barich is going to be on the play for game number 2, but maybe needs some help from the sideboard. The options she has this weekend: 4 Damping Sphere, 2 Chandra Torture Defiance, 2 Fry, 2 Abrade, 2 Experimental Frenzy, 2 Lava Coil, and a Kari Zev's Expertise.
So the big things I would be expecting here are the grindy cards like Chandra, Experimental Frenzy. When your opponent just has a wall of removal spells, you need a way to kind of break through that. And Kari Zev's Expertise is another one that actually is pretty incredible. If you ever gotten to steal an Uro with a Kari Zev's Expertise, however good you think it feels, it is way better than that.
Right, it's so much more than just the damage. It's also the card draw.
Exactly.
Very nice swingy effect there. For Matthew Dilks, the sideboard is 3 Leyline of the Void, 2 Mystical Dispute, an Agonizing Remorse, 2 Assassin's Trophy, 2 Unmoored Ego, 2 Damping Sphere, Abrupt Decay, Hostage Taker, and Tireless Tracker.
So the big things here is I would expect to maybe trim on some of the grindier oriented what-ofs. You know, Tamiyo, for example, is something that's not super strong in this matchup, and I would expect that probably just more removal to come in. Red deck historically is not one that can do very much with the mana that Assassin's Trophy gives you. For example, Abrupt Decay is pretty nice. Hostage Taker is something that can at least lock up a creature for a turn. Those are the sorts of things I would be looking at from Dilk's side of the table.
Fair enough, and he is up a game here, so just needs to get into the late game, get those Uros going. Seems to be the mission for him. So it's February, but you know what? It's going to be June before you know it. And when it's June, that means it's SCGCon, and before that happens, you're going to want to be qualified for the Invitational. Really good way for you to do it locally. Star City Games Invitational Qualifiers. This is how I qualified for the first Invitational I played, and the prizes are great. $1,000 in cash to the top 8. You can qualify for the Invitational if you finish in 1st or 2nd place. Get some SCG points. Maybe you might make a run at Players' Championship. Maybe build up to get some buys. Really cool top 8 playmat, exclusive tokens. Love these tournaments. You can find out whatever you need to know at go.starcitygames.com/IQ.
And strong invitational finishes are kind of a great way to actually get a bunch of momentum going into the next season to help you lock up the points necessary to make a run for the Players' Championship.
Oh, yeah. In 2016, we saw Liam Lonergan take the hard route to the PC. 1 an IQ, 1 an Invitational, boom, you're there.
Right, and, you know, that's not far from what Barone did last year either.
Right.
Right, I mean, he top 4'd a Classic instead, but that's kind of in the same area as doing well at one of these Invitational qualifiers. So it really is just kind of an arm's reach for a ton of players.
Yeah, absolutely. Players looking at 7 here. Barich quickly sends hers back. I can never tell how close Dilk's hands are because he just always makes this face. Very stern. Doesn't give anything away.
Yeah, very, very disappointed that his opening hand only has 7 cards.
I think you often see him thinking about how he's going to sequence more than whether he's going to keep.
Yep, very much so. Especially someone who plays, we talked about this a little bit before, but big Amulet Titan player in Modern. Lots of very specific sequencing that goes into a lot of the decks that he plays.
We see him keeping 7. Barich is going to take a look at 6.
Your next round pairings have made their way to the pairings boards. Once again, 12:30 Modern Challenge players. Your next round pairings have made their way to the pairings boards.
Taking a look at some possibilities for putting 1 on the bottom. All right, 6 is where she will stay. Mountain Soulscar Mage, solid start.
I know you're a big fan of the Soulscar Mage opening.
Oh, yeah. It's a powerful Magic card. Didn't get the respect it deserved initially.
Well, you know, I will concede the point that it is a Magic card. Can't argue with that.
Blooming Marsh for Dilks. That Soulscar Mage is going to bump him to 19, and we see Eidolon of the Great Revel eating a fatal push at the end step here.
My man.
Dilks to 17 for the trouble, but cleaned that one up anyway. I'm going to say it like that every time.
You know,
I don't mean pronouncing it the right way. I mean very stressed.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, for sure. I understand you really want to make sure you put the proper emphasis on the correct syllables.
A shock for a Jace Prodigy, but some bad news for Dilks as Barich is going to deploy the third land, Ash Zealot, Wild Slasher Jace, attack you for 4, Dilks to 11.
Hitting him with the Razzle Dazzle.
What can Dilks do about it? Here's a Forest as land number 3. Could gain some life with an Uro. That's all fine. Courser wouldn't be bad either. All right, so it is Uro. He'll go to 14. No land. Well, that's a good sign for Barich. We see an attack for 3, though she is light on resources. No additional plays. Dilks to 11 again.
So both players just skipped their turn.
Yeah, basically. Traverse for Dilks. That's going to find a basic land, just creatures and instant in the graveyard so far.
Probably looking at an island here.
Second blue source.
Right.
Already has 2 black, 2 green. It is island. Second blue for Uro, pretty important. He'll play the island and pass. Raminap Ruins, Chandra Torch of Defiance.
Normally you don't want to play your stuff pre-combat like this, but when you have prowess creatures, that just changes the dynamic of so much.
Absolutely. Chandra's going to plus exile Rampaging Frostodon. That's good for 2 points. Dilks to 9, and here's an attack for 4. Looks like he has something like an Abrupt Decay, though. Something exactly like an Abrupt Decay.
Has an Abrupt Decay.
Ash Zealot, gone. The Mage connects. Dilks goes to 7. The 1-2, not super concerning. The Planeswalker, very concerning. And Dilks with only 4 other cards in the graveyard can't escape Uro just yet.
Just really needs to get that one extra untap step. Presumably he plays something this turn, then makes it another turn cycle around and can finally start to try and stabilize.
And he's like really he's really feeling missing that land drop, right? Because with more mana, it's just easier to put cards in the graveyard and then escape Uro.
Exactly.
I know this card. It's Eat Something.
Oh, yeah.
God, what is it?
Munch. Eat to Extinction.
Eat to Extinction for Dilks.
Delicious.
Exiles a Planeswalker. Gets to do some scrying with that. I suppose it's like more like Surveil without the keyword is actually it.
Basically.
He puts a breeding pool in the bin.
Ooh, love this from Barich. Big turn.
Chandra pluses, we see an Eidolon. That ain't bad. Chandra pluses finds Chandra. Chandra pluses makes mana. Now Dilks at 5, facing down Chandra Eidolon.
And this is a spot where, can Dilks even bring back Uro? I guess you break even on life, but just a land off the top? No, you come out 1 ahead, but then a land off the top is lethal?
So the escape puts him at 6. He's facing down 2 easy points off the Chandra. Also that looming Raminap Ruins.
Eidolon presumably worth a damage here.
He's going to escape the Uro. So it goes to 3, then back to 6. Puts a Fabled Passage on the battlefield. Back to Barich. Was empty-handed. Looked like a land. Was the draw step. Interesting interaction with Soulscar Mage and Chandra Torch of Defiance. If Barich wanted to, she could shrink the Uro down to a 2-2.
Ooh.
Just any non-combat damage does that. Gains Wither if you were around for Shadowmoor. Barich was going to plus the Chandra, finds Ash Zealot. Is that better as a 2-2 or 2 damage is the question being asked right now.
And a lot of that comes down to how much longer Barich thinks the game is going to go.
Lands on shock. So Dilks to 4, Ramunap Runes is going to be land number 5. Those are active now. But now Dilks has a pretty big untap. Has a lot to clean up, though.
Yeah, this turn is going to be the make or break for Dilks. He got this untap step that he needed so desperately, so we just need to see what he's going to do with it.
And we know that he has missed some number of land drops, so his hand's all gas.
Right.
Is it the right mix, is the question. Hostage Taker being pulled to the front of the hand. 4-mana spells seem ideal. You don't take 2 damage for them. In fact, if you cast something cheaper, you basically just die on the spot to the Ramunap Runes. So there is Hostage Taker. It's going to eat the Soulscar Mage, though. Now the Uro gets to make an attack. Dilks goes up to 7. Gotta figure that's going at Chandra. Overgrown Tomb put on the battlefield. That way you give Barich the choice. Do you want the Chandra or do you want the Eidolon? Eidolon.
You're just doing your best, and I appreciate that.
It's kind of tough because if you block this turn, then the Chandra still under pressure. It's very unlikely to emblem in this game.
Right. Yeah, I think a lot of the question here is if you just think that Chandra is going to be worth more damage than Eidolon is.
Barich lands on a chump block. And now with that Eidolon off the table, we see a fetch in the cast of that Soulscar Mage.
I can't believe in one round you are actually going to break me into saying Eidolon.
I'm very impressive.
Oh, that's a fact.
Ramunap Runes fired off on the end step. Dilks went to 5. Barich is going to draw, activate Chandra. Chandra is at 7. Dilks is at 3 as a mountain is exiled. What's Barich running in the way? There are 4 lightning strikes in the deck, but you would have probably seen that card already if that was the draw.
Ooh, what if it was the slow roll?
Love it. I've never seen Barich play slow in my life.
No, me either, but sometimes you just got to do it for the camera, you know?
So here's some attacks. Uro and Soulscar is 7. I would imagine that there's some attacks at Chandra with this. Chandra's dead. Dilks is going to 6. Puts a breeding pool on the table with the Uro. Jace Vryn's Prodigy post-combat. Satyr Wayfinder as well.
All right, it feels like Dilks has fully stabilized at this point. The way that Barich gets back into this game before she dies is just peeling the necessary burn off the top.
Right. And that's really tough against Uro.
Yes.
I would say that Lightning Strike is a not one right now. The last card was a Wild Slash, and that's going to take care of the Jace Vryn's Prodigy. Yeah, just 1 shy of lethal. And that's going to do it. Matthew Dilks, actually a pretty quick 2-0 for the Sultai Delirium side of things.
Well, one way or another, the nice thing is